Do you know about the James Webb Telescope? The cool thing about this telescope is that not only does it allow us to see further into the universe and reveal parts of the universe that we have never seen before, but it also allows scientists to see the universe through different frequencies of light. What this means is that the telescope can pick things up about the universe that we could not with our regular eyes or with the frequencies of light that our eyes are designed to perceive. And the amazing thing about this is that it reveals a different dimension about reality that otherwise we would not be able to normally see. And just because we don't see things with our regular vision, that doesn't mean that they do not exist, or that does not mean that there is more to the reality that's before us than we can simply comprehend. Similarly to how the James Webb Telescope reveals a new dimension about reality, when we put on a lens of faith, we can also see a new dimension of reality that goes beyond our reason. And just like how our vision can be limited, so can our reason be limited. And just because our reason can't make sense of something, that doesn't mean that that something is not a reality. And just because we can't make sense of something with our reason, that doesn't mean that there isn't a greater reality than what we can comprehend simply with just our reason. And this is what's revealed in today's gospel in John 6 about the multiplication of the loaves. Now, with our senses, with our regular human reason, it's perfectly reasonable to know that with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, we cannot feed and satiate 5,000 people. But if we recognize who is at work here, who is instructing us, it's Jesus himself. Jesus is doing the work, and Jesus is God. And Jesus, God, is not limited by natural human reason or by the laws of the material universe. He can suspend the laws of the material universe and do things that we as humans, by our limited powers, cannot do. So it makes total sense that, that of course the apostles were like, well, how are you going to feed all these people with simply 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish? And this is why Jesus didn't necessarily tell them to do the work. He said, just bring this to me, I'll take care of it. And you guys, all you have to do is just hand out the food to everyone. So remember, Jesus will take care of it. Just because something seems impossible or unlikely to you, that doesn't mean that Jesus can't handle that, and that doesn't mean that Jesus can't perform a miracle in that situation. And this leads us to another point. Why does Jesus perform such miracles as the multiplication of the loaves sometimes, and doesn't perform miracles other times? Like, for example, someone might say, well, I'll believe in God if he performs a miracle for me. But is that true? If you look at the Gospels, why does Jesus perform miracles? Well, he doesn't perform miracles just to show off. Also, he doesn't perform miracles necessarily to glorify to gain any kind of earthly glory. The whole reason he performs miracles is because he knows that if he performs these miracles, then people will come to faith. Other times he doesn't perform miracles. For example, in a couple of weeks ago, we read in the gospel that when he was in his hometown in Capernaum, said that he could not perform miracles because of their lack of faith. So the reason that Jesus performs miracles, such as the multiplication of the loaves, is because he knows that if he performs these miracles, people will come to faith and the kingdom of God, and they'll be drawn closer to the kingdom of God. A third lesson that I learned from this gospel is to give permission for Jesus to do the work. So many times, especially for us men, we want to be the heroes of our own story. We want to assure people that we got everything under control and that we can solve all problems. Especially if you're a father, you know this, when you try to DIY things around your home just to save a few bucks, or just to show your family that yes, you can do it and you don't need help. And yet often or many times in my case, things end up being worse than they were before. Now, similarly, imagine if in the multiplication of the loaves, the apostles tried to feed 5,000 people with the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish, that they only used their power to do it. Imagine Peter said, "Don't worry, Jesus, I got this. I'll make sure that somehow all these people are fed." Well, that would have been impossible. By his own human strength, he would not have been able to accomplish this. He needed Jesus, who has the ability, who has the power, who has the quote-unquote expertise in miracles, to be able to actually feed and satiate these 5,000 people. This is a great lesson to learn for all of us. Sometimes Jesus wants to make our lives much easier. Sometimes we might not know how he's going to fix the problem, but he just wants us to hand over the problems that we have so that he can get to work. It doesn't matter for us how he's going to solve it. The point is that he is going to help us solve the problem.